Charles Staples is an attorney for the Commonwealth of Virginia. He's in great health and full of energy these days. But his world was shaken in 1996. What began as a nosebleed turned out to be a deadly tumor.
It was a hemorrhage like I have never seen before.
And we tried for about an hour to stop the nosebleed until we went to the emergency room.
A month later, another shocking symptom appeared.
I was in church, the pastor was up giving a sermon, and visually he just, almost like he cloned himself, he just separated into two distinct people about 4 feet apart.
X-rays showed there was a large mass behind his nasal cavity.
This is a CT scan or a CAT scan of Mr. Staples that was done in January of 1996. And this is his tumor. This large white mass is abnormal. It shouldn't be there.
A biopsy revealed the tumor was cancerous and too large to remove.
The lab says cancer, it was stage 4, nasopharyngeal cancer, inoperable because it was literally in the center. If you go this way and that way and that way, couldn't get to it without making me blind or killing me. The only treatment was radiation and chemotherapy.
Charles began treatment, but soon had a change of heart.
So we started treating him. He had 1 course of chemotherapy, and then he had 7 radiation treatments out of the planned course of 35. After that time, which was about a week and a half, he asked to see me one day, and he said he had decided not to take any more treatments.
Charles believed that God would heal him.
It just was a moment of truth of, do you really believe what you profess to believe? And are you willing to trust in the Lord to tell you through the Holy Spirit how much medicine, how much technology to take, and how much to rely purely on faith?
I tried to convince him to continue his treatments, but he said absolutely not, he was finished. So I said, why don't you come back in about a month? We'll repeat the CAT scan, we'll see if the mass is still there.
But I still had to stand and believe I will live. I will live because of what Christ did on the cross, despite what the doctors were telling me.
So he came back about a month later. We did the CT scan, and it was completely normal. It was a risky move on his part. Obviously, he was right, and I was wrong.
But even after all of this, things weren't over for Charles and his wife, Marcia. 5 years later, Charles faced another bout with cancer. Charles was given a bleak prognosis. He had a malignant tumor in the left side of his neck. The doctor gave him a 20% chance of survival.
I had a real good talk with Jesus that day in the car on the way to the hospital. And he was there. He said, yeah, I will never leave you nor forsake you, and just trust.
This time it was a lesson in obedience. Charles believed that God was directing him to take the treatments.
So I took the whole treatment, went the whole 9 yards, went down to 135 pounds, lost my voice, lived on Ensure for 60 days. I could just croak. My throat was all darkened from radiation, and I couldn't drink water. Water tasted like liquid fire. It was just that bad.
At the end of his 35 treatments, the doctor increased it to 40 and told Charles that if he didn't take them, he would die. But Charles refused to accept his words or any further treatment.
You don't tell me when I'm going to die. The Lord will say how many days I have on this earth.
Remarkably, the CAT scan taken in May 2001 showed no tumor present. Since then, Charles has been cancer-free.
The biggest lesson I learned spiritually through all of this is about God's faithfulness. That He is just awesome, faithful, always moving even when you can't feel it or when you might not sense it, but He's there.
God is a rewarder of faith. He is unable to allow His word to return void, and His hands are full of miracles.